Alrighty, well, howdy, y'all, and welcome back. We are live, and I think we're here, I hope, as long as everything's running smooth, at least. All right, let's see.
Awesome.
So we have with us tonight, we have Susan Calloway. So, hi, Susan, how are you?
Hello. How are you?
Super excited to be doing this today. I've been looking forward to it for a while.
Me too. Thanks for having me on your awesome show.
Yeah, it was awesome. I reached out and I was surprised to hear back, and I'm glad that we were able to connect with that.
Awesome. Me too. Yeah. I love meeting fans, and especially people that are doing streaming, and I love that the whole idea of your show is so awesome, and how you're carrying us on like from your dad, and it's just I how could I say no, Jessica?
Great. I like to do these interviews. I like to get to know different people, different content creators, or, just anybody really for that matter. And kind of just to learn more about them as a person, but also what they do. So I'm super excited for this. And of course, we had some music playing, I think, in the beginning there from you. I know you're most well known for a lot of the Final Fantasy music. Which songs for Final Fantasy have you sung?
Well, most people know me from Final Fantasy 14. I sing the theme song Answers, and then I went on to sing Dragon Song and then Revolutions for Final Fantasy 14, which is great. I mean, I'm so honored that they would ask me to sing 3 different songs for, the series of, what Final Fantasy 14 is. So yeah, that was really an honor and awesome. And, but that's not actually how I got involved in the project. My introduction to Final Fantasy was actually through Distant Worlds' Final Fantasy concert tour. Mm-hmm. I worked with Arnie Roth, and he was someone that I had done some work with. And at the time, we were putting out this audio CD, and that's kind of was my introduction to the project. I started actually doing some live shows with them because they needed a singer that was really versatile and could sing. The music from the game is pretty difficult music to sing, and so it was kind of, they wanted a pop singer versus like maybe finding an opera singer or something. So it was kind of like an interesting kind of job, in that sense that they needed done. And that's kind of was my introduction to it. And that's how I met Nobu. And then he really thought my voice would fit, Final Fantasy 14, because he was kind of the initial composer that kind of started off the game. So that's sort of a very quick little introduction of how I got involved. But yes, that is how most people know me, is through 14, but I actually was introduced to it through Distant World. So
gotcha. Awesome. Now you've sung some other songs from different Final Fantasy games, I believe as well. Like there was Suteki Dane and a couple others, I believe.
Yes, and that's the only context I sing those songs, because I don't sing those songs in game. Mm-hmm. I sing those. That's been my involvement with Distant Worlds, because Distant Worlds is that concert tour that basically does music from all Final Fantasy games, and so there's other amazing singers that they've worked with on different games. But obviously, to bring in like the original singers on every game to do a concert is not very cost effective. So a lot of times, they just will hire me to come and sing not only the ones from 14, which I do sing in game, but then sing some of the other ones. And that's where like Suteki Dane, I hope I say that correctly. Suteki Dane, that was actually sung by, I think, Riki, who actually comes to some of the concerts and does that song, which she does a beautiful job because she's the original singer for it. So
right.
But that is, any of the other songs I've done have been through Distant Worlds. So the only songs that I sing in game are 14. And Square Enix is very, they're particular about that, because it's like once a singer is kind of attached to a certain game, they sort of like to keep that consistency. So
exactly, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I went to a couple of the Distant Worlds concerts now, and I went to the ones in the tri-state area ones that were in, I believe it was Newark. And they were just so awesome. I got to do the meet and greet, so I've met yourself and Arnie Roth and Nobuo Uematsu, and I got to meet Riki, who sung on that Suteki Dane. So it's just really awesome, and those concerts are so amazing. They're so well put together. It was awesome to get to see and kind of hear that music like up close in person.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, those were fun shows. I remember they were very long. I remember there was one of those I was really sick for. I can't remember which one, but I remember I had like the flu and I was so sick. And I
Oh,
struggled
geez.
through the show. That's always the hardest thing as a performer, because you can't, you don't know when you're going to come down with something. I mean, I really try
Exactly.
to take care of myself, but it's like you have this, here you've got this huge commitment, and you're like, no, and it's like, but that's awesome. But I remember those being really fun concerts. So
Yeah, they were like a two-part. It was like an all-day thing. I wound up getting tickets
right,
to both shows because there was different songs at each show.
right.
It was a lot of fun. It was really just a good time, and those concerts are really awesome.
Yeah, they
Um,
were fun to be a part of. So I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait till all this Corona nonsense is over
I
and we can get
know,
back to, touring and stuff.
absolutely.
It'll be nice, man.
Now, music has always been important for me. I don't play a lot of instruments. I play a few, but not
Yeah.
very well. But did you always like sing or play music or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very genuine, authentic artist, from that standpoint. This isn't something I just decided to do, later on in life or something. I started singing when I was like 5, and I was very involved even in theater back then. I was actually going to be um, the lead in Chicago Annie when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and but that would involve my family moving to Chicago, which my parents decided that wasn't probably the best decision for our whole family at that point, because I was, letting a 9-year-old or 8-year-old kind of run run the shows, and really probably correct. But I have always been a singer, and I started studying voice very young. When I was like 11 or 12, I started taking voice lessons, and I started studying classical piano when I was 5. So
Mhm.
I'm a very studied musician. I had scholarships to many different schools. I ended up going to a school here because I was doing so much performing, and I've been very fortunate to start my career early. You never know in music how your career is going to sort of unfold, and there's been
Yeah,
lots of chapters, in my music journey. But yes, I have been playing music for a long time, and I started playing guitar when I was in high school, so I kind of started that. Piano is still my main instrument, so that's the one I write on the most. And now, not only do I sing for Final Fantasy, but I have a music production company that does a lot of music for advertising and film and television. And I have a studio here in my house. I do a lot of production. I'm even starting to maybe get involved with helping other artists, kind of producing even some other artists, things like that, in addition to my own music. So I love
that's
production.
awesome.
I really have a lot of fun with that. So it's nice to be able to control the whole process of, how a song's gonna be played out versus just singing it, or you know what I mean? So
Exactly, absolutely. That's awesome. I know, some people tend to get into it later in life, but hearing that you've always been, singing and stuff is always is awesome.
yep, I come by it very naturally. So
Um, have you had any other hobbies and stuff like that that you like to do, or things that you do in your spare time?
which is like zero spare time this time.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, listen, I really think it's important to be a balanced person, and I really do try to do
Mhm.
that. And I think as an artist, one of the things that's really important is trying to still have a life outside of like your music. Music is such a one thing about being in the music industry in general is it can be a very kind of selfish business from the standpoint it's so it can be very egocentric, and I don't like that about it. And I think it's a thing for me where you have to work on yourself all the time as an artist, because you have to practice and you have to work on new
Mhm.
material, and there's always like, obviously there's this whole social media thing now that you have to do, and I've been working really hard on that in recent years, trying to really build up my following online and trying to connect with fans. And I have so many fans that from Final Fantasy that still don't know I have this online platform and that I do other things, and that's kind of been a challenge. But yes, I do have other. I'm kind of getting off your subject here, but
No, that's okay.
yes, I do have other hobbies. I really like, for example, my fiance is a huge athlete, and he actually that's his profession. He's actually a professional sports trainer, and um, coaches boxing and strength and conditioning and all kinds of stuff. And so I work out a lot. We do a lot of active things together. I really like running. I really like, cross training and things like that. I really like cooking. That's something I
Mhm.
really like to do. Like especially when I'm stressed out, or like when I've been on tour or something, I come back home. One of my favorite things is just making like this big meal and inviting my friends over and having a really nice dinner, and like, you know what I mean? Like I love
Yeah,
doing
that's really
that.
nice.
So yeah, I love cooking. I like to eat healthy and stuff. So that's kind of a hobby too. And I have my dogs. We still have 2 dogs, even though I mentioned before we lost one of our doggies last week, which was really sad.
Yeah.
He died, and which was really heartbreaking, but we outlive our pets. So you have to sort of know that, but, we have 2 other dogs still. And so I'm hugely into my dogs. I love them so much. I treat them like little people. So I guess you could
Aw.
say that's a hobby in a way,
Yeah.
but I love what I
Absolutely.
do, and I'm trying to, it's hard to make time for a lot of extra stuff, but I do get I try to be balanced, in my life. So.
Yeah, it can definitely be difficult for sure. It's even just, I work full time and then try to do the streaming stuff part time, and it could definitely be time consuming for sure. So I'm sure you're
Right.
just as busy.
No, it is. It can like take over your life. You have to start really paying attention to,
Hmm.
what you're doing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. You had mentioned that you have the 2 dogs. Did you have any other pets or anything?
No, we're just dog. I'm like so allergic to cats. I mean, Jeff used to have a cat, which that cat actually unfortunately passed away before me. So, but yeah, I'm really allergic to cats. So that's all right now. I think that's fine though. I think
Yeah.
2 dogs is
Yeah.
enough. So.
Absolutely. I have one and he's a handful. He's a 2-year-old
Yeah.
German Shepherd. So he's
Oh, I love German Shepherds. They're so smart.
he is, and he's the
They're cool
best
dogs.
dog, but he is definitely a handful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But so with keeping with like the music stuff, how has it been to work with like Arnie Roth and Nobuo and all them? Like,
They're
is it
awesome to work
difficult?
with. Well, I mean, look, there's a lot of different people involved in Final Fantasy, so it just,
Hmm.
I mean, and obviously probably the biggest challenge has been the language barrier. Because when you're dealing, I mean, because it's not really just about language, it's about the culture too. And I think that's been something I just had never been exposed to Japanese culture at all. It's just not, I
Yeah.
mean, I've studied French and Spanish and German a little bit and Italian. And then like I went to school for music. So I learned how to sing in a bunch of different languages, and I would learn the dialect and the accents and things like that. But Japanese was never one that we covered. You don't typically cover the Asian languages in music
Right.
school. So that was kind of the hardest thing for me, has been making sure I really understand the meaning of what's being said. It's not just the words, it's the meaning behind
Hmm.
the words, and wanting to make sure, like, for example, when we're recording a song, like when I was working on Answers, really trying to understand what the intention was, what Nobu wanted, or what the thought was there. So, and I'm sure he felt the same, of trying to express his thoughts to me, and like, well, how am I going to
Hmm.
make this American girl understand what I'm trying to do? You know what I mean? So that's probably been the most challenging part. As far as the talent and stuff, and like obviously with Arnie and I, we're both American, so that's easy. But it's such an honor to work with such amazing musicians. I mean, I think that's what's been really great is, I've worked in a lot of different areas of the music industry, and one thing I've appreciated about Final Fantasy and Square Enix is they've really hired some incredible writers and composers to work on this game. I mean, in particular, Nobu, and then also Sokan, and then I'm blanking on what is the female writer that wrote some of 15. Shumamura, I think is her last name.
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
can't think of her first name, but she's amazing also. But they just have some really gifted composers working on this music, which is great, because it
Yeah.
makes, and one thing that's kind of interesting is, even though as much as I'm saying it's hard with the communication, it's like, at the same time, the musicianship is so high that it's kind of like music speaks a language of its own,
Yeah.
and it's kind of cool to see that happening, that you can do a performance. And even when you work with an orchestra, that's a different language, which I've done many times now working in Japan, like no one in the orchestra maybe speaks English, and you're doing this performance, and yet there's something that, like, there's this connection happening that is really beautiful, because it's music, and it's great music, and we are listening and playing off of each other musically in a way that's, it really goes to show you it is the universal language. So that's been pretty cool,
Yeah.
but just to land something more detailed for you, working with Arnie's been amazing. He's just a gifted artist and composer. He not only is a conductor, but he plays violin. He used to be like first chair violin for the Chicago Symphony. I mean, he's an incredible musician, an incredible arranger, and his sensibility. And I've learned so much through him and watching him. He's a great showman. He knows how to talk to the crowd, and he's just what an incredible musician. I've learned an enormous amount working with him. And I hope we do it again soon. I miss working with him, and his wife is an awesome too. Marcy's become a dear friend, and they're just an amazing couple. But anyway, so that's awesome. And Nobu is incredible, and I think one thing that I will say also about Nobu that I really appreciate is he has so much respect for me as an artist. He really loves what I do as an artist. And I so appreciate that. And he really wanted me to bring that to everything I sang, which sometimes is challenging because it's a really different genre than I'm used to. And it's always a challenge as a singer to work on something that's so different than like my music that I write. But he was always wanting me to bring my style to it, which is really great. That he wanted to make it more of a collaboration, not just a dictatorship of like, do it like this, and he never was like that. He was like, what if we tried this way? Or and what do you think? And maybe we should phrase it like this. And, so.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
It's been a great experience,
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like, they would be really awesome people to work with. Just from the few times I've watched like interviews with Nobuo Uematsu or Arnie Roth, any of them, they just seem to like really down to earth people, which is kind of cool.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Nobu's just a gem of a guy. He's just a very sweet, kind guy. He's really very classy, and there's something about his spirit that is very, he's just a good guy. A very genuine, warm guy,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's good to hear, it's sometimes you get people that are, have so much popularity that tend to be a little bit stuffy or something like that, but it never seems that way with any of you guys.
Oh, that's really nice. I think at some point in your career, like, because look, Jessica, it's like, you can be really good at something and not ever have success at it, because there's so many, and I think as I get older and my career grows and changes, look, there's so many talented people out there. There's so many great singers. There's so many great songwriters. And I think at some point when you're involved in a situation like this, where there's been a lot of success with this game, obviously, and there's a lot of people involved in that, it's not just me, it's everyone at Square Enix. It's, the writers, it's Nobu, it's Arnie, there's a million pieces that have set this all up for success. And even though I maybe get a benefit from that, and I did lend my voice to it, I'm only a small part of it, really. And that's how I look at it, as like, it's a team effort. And it's like, it's not really, I'm just grateful for the opportunity, because, you don't always get those chances in life. And I just want to try to use it to, I love what I do so much. I love writing music. I love communicating things with music. I love using it to try to inspire people, to try to encourage them and things like that. That's a huge part of my platform. And in fact, I started, as you probably know, this live chat series on Wednesdays. I've only done a few of them, but we're going to be back at it tomorrow. And I'm going to announce it later today, kind of last minute, but I do a live chat every Wednesday called Scar Stories, which kind of talks about like overcoming, all of the garbage life throws at us, so to speak, some of the problems. And I've had some different people I've interviewed on my little show and things like that. So we're going to do that again tomorrow, and it's going to be on all the platforms, which I'll have links out later for everybody. But that's like a part of, even though it's not music per se, it's a big part of like who I am as a person. And I feel like if you can use your music or your words or your songs to sort of encourage people and help them figure it out and help them kind of not give up on themselves and not give up on life and not give up on their dreams, I think that's just an amazing thing to use your gifts for. So that's sort of my vibe with all of that. So
absolutely, yeah, it's definitely awesome. And now, as you said, you do most of the music on the Final Fantasy tracks. Have you ever played on the 14 ones? Rather, have you ever played 14? Or do you kind of stick to mostly? That's the music side.
I haven't played any of them yet, which is really bad. And I keep getting, like, Square sent me all of the games. Like, I even have physical copies of them, and like in the corner in my office here. But they're so time consuming to play, and I know one thing I've been talking to some of the fans about lately, though, is maybe doing a thing where I go online and play, play live, and everybody can laugh at me and be like, wow, she sucks.
Yeah.
She's terrible at this. Just stick to singing. Anyway, but in fact, a friend of mine's having a live stream, I think on his birthday, which is like November 11th, and I'm going to be playing, I don't think it's Final Fantasy, though. There's another game he wants me to play live, and I don't even know what it is, but we're going to be trying that, so I'm sure it's going to be very entertaining for everyone. So
Awesome.
anyway, but yeah, I need to do that. It's on my bucket list. So
that's awesome. Yeah, we did have it looks like a latecomer in the live chat just asking,
okay, awesome.
who they didn't know who Susan Calloway is. But yes, this is Susan Calloway again. She's the singer and songwriter on a lot of the Final Fantasy XIV tracks. She's also done her own music. Speaking of which, you did have a new song recently.
I did. I put out a new single a couple weeks ago called Favorite Scar. And in fact, there's going to be a lyric video coming out this week. I'm so excited because it's so cool. I just got it. We just got that done. So I just put that out. And yeah, I hope everybody can check it out. It's not, I think a lot of the fans that like Final Fantasy music are going to like this. I mean, I would love to write a song for Final Fantasy. I haven't done that yet. They, their composer situation's pretty locked down, which is totally fine. Or they have amazing people, but yeah, I would love to share that with everyone. So yeah, you can check that out. You can go to my website or any of my socials have links to listen to that song. But it's called Favorite Scar, and it's everywhere. It's on iTunes and it's on Spotify, and
that's awesome.
You can buy it.
Yeah. I have I've listened to it and I love that song. It's really a pretty song, but also just it has a good like story to it. A lot of music. There's music that you just listen to just because it's music, but then there's music that has like a story, and that's the kind I usually tend to listen to. So that song is really awesome.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Love hearing
it. Do you have any plans on like a whole new album coming out anytime soon of your own music?
Well, I would love to. I certainly have enough music to do a Susan album of some kind. I think right now my game plan is to I really want to share with the fans right now, not only my music, but some of my Susan versions of some of the Final Fantasy songs, because I know everyone really connects with that stuff. And it's a great way for them to connect with me as an artist, to kind of hear me sing maybe some Susan versions of, Answers and Dragon Song, and even some of the ones I don't sing technically. Like I just did kind of a new arrangement, like a pop arrangement of Oblivion that I actually performed a couple weeks ago at one of my little flash concerts, which I do on Friday. Yeah. So I'd like to put out some things like that for the fans so they can connect with that. So I'm gonna see how that goes. My plan would be to, as I put out some singles in the upcoming months, is that at some point to release a full, maybe do a vinyl of like fantasy unplugged songs with Susan, and then maybe do my own thing where it's just Susan songs, or we'll see. So
yeah, that would be awesome.
Like to, I definitely would love to do it. It's just now we're such in a stage of the way people digest music now is so different. It's like everybody just wants a single, kind of at a time versus
right
buying like a whole compilation of something. So
gotcha. Yeah, it can be definitely a lot of work, I'm sure.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of work, and it gets also time consuming and expensive and all that stuff. So in fact, one of the things I started doing recently that I should mention to everybody is I have a Patreon, like an exclusive Patreon fan club, which has been one of the things I'd like to do to kind of help support that effort, because if fans want to kind of come alongside me and partner, and I've got some really cheap tiers too that are just like, basically as much as a Starbucks, you can, become a Patreon, and I create exclusive content. Some of it's inspirational. I do an inspirational blog every Monday. All my Patreon fans get my music for free, as long as they join me for the main fan club, which is I think $10 a month. So they get all my music for free. And there's other benefits as well. They get everything early, and I always want to release everything like way ahead of time for them. And it's more personal interaction. I have a mentoring tier where I do some like mentoring with, whether it's like career mentoring or music mentoring. So that's like one of them. If you want to become a partner, you can do that. But so that's been really cool. And I've been amazed how many fans have stepped up to just say, yes, I want to partner with you on this. And that really helps me get all this stuff going, because I would love nothing more than to just put out tons of music for everyone and do lots of, live events and things like that. But it does, get expensive, because I want to put out quality stuff, and even this last song, Favorite Scar, I had an amazing guy mix it. He was a Nashville, Grammy Award winning, engineer who mixed the song. And I had some incredible musicians and stuff also add some embellishments to it, which was great. I did a lot of it myself, but I still had some amazing musicians add to that too. And without that help, that's all stuff too that, costs money and stuff to do and to have it really sound great. So that's the other piece that people don't see. They think everyone thinks music's just so we just do it all in 5 minutes and in our basement. And product doesn't exactly work that way. So, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's been really exciting. So that's sort of my way to sort of put out more music to, to answer your question better. To try to create a chance for everyone to kind of partner with me and say, all right, let's do it together. So.
Absolutely. And we did have a question from the live chat from one of my viewers, Judzilla. She says, could Susan please describe a typical studio day, setup, etc., when recording for something like Final Fantasy?
Sure. Well, when I get up for a day like that, my studio, which I really should let you guys all, I do that with Patreon a little bit. I've been starting to show some things behind the scenes there, but my studio is in my basement of my house. And what I normally would do is I warm up and turn everything on, let the gear start warming up and things like that. And I, make breakfast, have some coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. And I always try to warm up. I have a grand piano upstairs and a practice space, which is where I do my live streaming for everyone when I'm playing live. And I usually warm up really well. I drink a ton of water, make sure I'm really hydrated and warmed up. And then I go down and I'll start working, And my studio is kind of vibey, so sometimes I'll light some candles and just kind of try to set a mood so I can get into the headspace of where I'm supposed to be. And I don't hire an engineer because I actually engineer. So I have everything sort of set up there. And my microphone, the way my microphone's set up, I can't show you right now because we're not down there. The way my microphone is set up, it's right near, my monitors and, all my equipment and stuff. So I'm able to punch myself in. And I'll often, what I usually do is I'll try to really I just kind of keep singing it until I feel like, all right, I'm really ready to start doing takes now. And then when I do takes, what I'll do is I'll cut I'll sing the song maybe 6 or 7 times. And then I'll take a break and I go back and I'll listen to all of it. And I start going, okay, what should it sound like? Because one of the hardest things to decide when you're producing music is how should this song be sung? Because a singer like me, I've done so much session work in my life, which a lot of Final Fantasy people probably don't know this about my career, because how would you? But I've done a ton of session work and I've had to be, and I'm a very versatile singer. I can actually sing everything from opera to metal to, hard rock to pop to
That's awesome.
You pretty name it, I've had to do it. So you get very versatile. And I think, which is great. It's given me this great career as a session singer, which I've done, for a long time here. But at the same time, sometimes it's easy to lose yourself too, because you have so many choices. You're like, how do I sing this? What is the real story here? And how should this sound? And what's the best way to tell the story of this song? And so that's always the challenge. So when I first start working like that, I'm just giving you some kind of insider things here.
Yeah.
As I'm recording, that's always the first step. Is okay, how should this sound? What is the story? What is, what really makes sense here? What's the way to sing this? Because there's so many ways to sing something. It's not just about singing in tune or, you know what I mean? It's the phrasing or the texture. Or you sing it, should I get up close to the mic and be quiet with it or whatever? And there's just a lot of choices, so you have to sort of make a million choices sometimes as you're recording and working on something as far as how that finished product's going to sound. And so then I kind of take it from there. And sometimes I'll make what we call a vocal comp at that point, which is where you take the best sections of each performance and kind of maybe mishmash them into one take. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I don't like to do that too much because I really like the continuity of a vibe that you're putting down for a whole piece. I don't like it to sound choppy like that. So I really try not to do that for the most part, but I'll try to grab as big a section as I can so it keeps that continuity,
Yeah.
But that's sort of the first step of it, And then the other thing that's important when you're recording is to also take breaks and step away. You know, I try to go do something else for a couple hours at some point when I think I'm close to getting the take.
Right.
Just get away for a couple hours too, and then come back, because you need, your ears can only take so much in a day. And you get ear fatigue with stuff, and there's a point where you can really lose your way. And I can always tell that, because like the next day, if I know I've been pushing too hard and I didn't really allow myself that space to step away, I'll sometimes listen to what I did and I'll be like, oh my God, that was terrible. Like, what were you thinking? You're not done. You need to start over.
Yeah.
So there's really a value in stepping back, and sometimes it's better than what you think. Sometimes you'll be like, oh man, I don't know if I really got anything today. I don't know if any of this is really usable, or can I catch the vibe? What, you know? And then I'll listen to the next day and I'll be like, oh wow, that's way better than I thought it was going to be, or maybe I just need to fix this one spot, or you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's a really it's a very tedious process, and you can't force it. You have to sort of know when to step back and to, you know, and when to move forward, and you know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
But that's how I do it. You know, that's how I kind
of. Did you, before you started, you know, singing more professionally and stuff like that, did you have any other careers or jobs or anything like that?
No, well, you know, I shouldn't say that. When I was in high school, because I obviously I was a student when I was in high school. Most students don't have full-time careers, you know. But I was singing and stuff, not for a living or anything, because I was still, you know, I was taking lessons and doing all that stuff. But when I was in high school, I had a paper out, and that was awesome. And I had that through college. I kept the paper out because it was like great money. And it was in my car, but it was like, you know, great extra money. And I was like in school and stuff trying to do that. And then I was in a band that actually was getting paid to perform, and I did that. And that band actually ended up doing really well. We did a lot of touring and stuff like that. So that kind of was my job for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had a few like odd jobs and stuff, but I've been really fortunate because I started doing like really high level recording session work when I was, you know, probably in my mid 20s. So that was really, you know, just as like awesome, when I got out of college, I was really able to thankfully get into doing something at a pretty high level, which was great. I got an agent at that point, and I was like flying all over the place doing, you know, sessions for everybody. So that was awesome. You know, I was going to New York and LA and Chicago, and, you know, and then soon after, everything moved to everyone having their own studio. So then that eliminated having to fly everywhere, which made it way easier. But then it also created a new piece of learning, because I had to now learn to engineer, which thankfully I was working with an awesome producer at that time that he was kind of my mentor, and he was incredibly multiple Grammy award winning guy. His name was Gerard Smerick, and, you know, learned a ton from him. He actually taught me how to engineer. And so that was probably one of the greatest things that could have happened to my career, because it really taught me to control and to create. Not only could I write the music and sing the music, I was now able to really track everything how I wanted and really control the whole sound of it, which as an artist, you can really create your own sound that way. Because then you can really, you know, it's really purely you know, it's not like people taking your music and going, well, I think you should sound like this, you know.
Absolutely.
So
awesome. I did have another question from the live chat. I've got a couple of them actually, awesome. But Tusk here wants to know, does Susan still use older analog recording equipment, or have you embraced the evil that is digital?
Well, unfortunately, you have to embrace the evil that is digital to some degree now. Because you can't get your music. I mean, because you have just even to distribute to iTunes and stuff, it's kind of difficult. I think analog is so awesome, and I love analog. A lot of the analog studios, like an analog console, like a mixing console, I haven't worked on one of those in a long time. I really, for the most part, use Pro Tools, but some of the outboard gear that we've used and that I have now, I don't own some of this, some of it I've rented. I used to have access to more of it, but I think the analog outboard, you know, like, what do you call it, compressors and things like that, those actually are pretty incredible. And that really helps balance out the kind of the what is the word, the tinniness of digital, you know. It kind of brings that warmness. So but they're coming up with better and better gear now that kind of helps circumvent some of that is meant to mimic some of the analog gear. And I've been really impressed. In fact, I ordered a new microphone the other day. The engineer I worked with on this last single that mixed it recommended a mic that he said was sounded great, and it was not fairly inexpensive. And he goes, I can't believe how literal it is, which is what you want in a microphone, something that's really literal, that's like, it sounds exactly like you. Because the more you start with that, you know, instead of someone, you know, something that's like covering what you sound like, it becomes difficult as a singer to work with that. So I'm really excited. I haven't gotten it yet. It was on back order. So I hope it'll be here soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think mixing those two elements is the key to really creating something cool. You know, it's hard. And some of that older gear, it's harder to maintain. So it's hard to find engineers that have it and have maintained it well. There's only a few guys in the country that even know how to repair some of those analog mics and stuff. So, which I prefer. I mean, if I could afford it right now, I would probably buy a Telefunken 251, which is my favorite microphone. It's like a tube mic. It's the mic I sang "Time for This" through, which is a single I released a couple of years ago. But it's a magic mic, man. It sounds just.
That's awesome.
Killer. So anyway.
Yeah, it could be tough to keep things all analog. Going digital has to happen at some point.
Right.
But it's definitely better to keep things as analog as possible.
Exactly.
So I did have, like I said, another question from the side chat.
Yeah.
I had Square Lukester, who says, will Susan sing in the next expansion now that the Final Fantasy Fan Fest will be an online event?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't want to wear out my welcome with Final Fantasy. So, I mean, I know the fans are probably divided. I mean, some are probably like, in fact, it's funny. I was I don't usually Google myself, or I don't remember why. I was on like Reddit the other day, and I actually was amazed. There was a fan that was really not wanting me to sing anymore for Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, geez.
Which was kind of one of those things. And, there's always going to be people that like say stuff, whatever. But it was kind of funny because he really, really didn't like me. Let's just leave it there. But I was like, wow, like it's like my first cake review. I haven't seen one of these before. And I've been really fortunate because, the Final Fantasy fans have been so kind. And and anyone who's listening today that is watching us too, I just want to say a shout out to all the Final Fantasy fans, how much I appreciate you guys. You've been so accepting and kind to me. And I appreciate that so much because, I really do try my best to sing this music for you guys and to sing from my heart and to sing in such a way that inspires you when you're playing. And that's the most important thing to me is that, I'm giving you guys the vibe that you need to like win and like become masters of the game.
Yeah.
So that's really, that's what my heart is, for you. And look, not everyone's going to love you. And that's just part of being in the music industry. Everyone's got an opinion or like, no, I think she sucks.
Yeah.
You're not going to make everybody happy. But you know what? Exactly. It's okay. It's all right. Because you know what? You guys, for the most part, I really don't get any of that. So that's why I was kind of surprised. I'm like, wow, I do have some haters out there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to. I would certainly always welcome it. I think there's maybe an opportunity to do something that's maybe a little different. I mean, a lot of the fans don't maybe know how versatile my voice is. It'd be fun to sing something that was going to be a different style. That was maybe a theme song that was still my voice, but it was like really different or something.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be fun because it would still be like my Susan vibe, but it would be different. So it wouldn't feel like, oh, here we go again. It's Susan Calloway. It'd be a little more like, is it her? Maybe it's not.
Yeah, that would be cool. It would definitely be, it would be interesting for sure, and
exactly.
Definitely something, I'd be interested in.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
That's what we should try now. That would be a good idea. So I don't know. I would love to. I mean, I was supposed to do a fan fest earlier this year in Shanghai that got canceled because of Corona. So I don't know. I'm sure at some point we're going to, have those come back. I don't know how or what the situation. I have a great relationship with Square Enix. They've been super supportive and kind to me. And I'm certainly happy to help. If I can compliment what they're doing, I'm happy to help. So it'll be just up to them. And, I'm here, I'm available. And, in the meantime, I'm going to just work on music and maybe do some new arrangements of some of these songs for you guys to, keep you entertained while you're hunkered down in Corona land. So, that's that's my thought,
Yeah, absolutely. Now you had mentioned that you do have the your show on Wednesdays that you do on Facebook Live and also on Fridays, I believe. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more about both of those or anything else that you're doing?
I would love to, Jessica. On Wednesday, I'm doing a thing that it's funny. It kind of started as a way to promote my new single because my new single is called Favorite Scar. And I thought, well, the whole point of the song is kind of talking about how whether we mean to or not, and we sometimes get in these positions in life, and this one was maybe about a relationship that was like, it created a scar in my life. It was something that was really difficult and painful. And at the same time, it's something that now is a part of me, and I think that's often what happens is even our worst mistakes sometimes in life, we don't really realize it when we're going through it because we hate it the whole time. And we're like, this is awful and terrible. And how will I ever get past this? Whether it's a breakup or a job, maybe you get fired or something happens in your family that's terrible, or who knows, or maybe it's a health crisis that you're like, wow, like this is terrible. How do I deal with this? And I think so many times in life, instead of us, it becomes an invitation, to maybe reframe how we look at the trajectory of our life. And I think that many times our scars, instead of them being something that we're ashamed of, we don't want to talk about, or we think, well, that was just awful and nothing good came out of that. But sometimes it's an invitation also to reframe things, because I really believe strongly that our character and integrity are built through difficulty. And so if that is true, if I really want to be a person that has character and integrity in my life, which I think is so important, and I do have a really strong faith in God, and that's a big part of who I am. And I have learned that lesson over and over, that even the things that I hate that I have to deal with, that I go through, if I'm willing to lean in and I'm willing to say, okay, I don't like this. This is uncomfortable. It's painful, but maybe there's something I can do with this, or maybe there's something God can use in me that's going to make this into something maybe kind of beautiful too.
Yeah.
Like maybe I can help other people with this. Maybe I can, if this makes me a more empathetic person, if this maybe I can create a platform where we can, I can encourage other people with this. And that was kind of the intention of Scar Stories, and how it started was I really wanted to create a platform for people to come on and share the things that they've overcome, because so many times we see social media, and I think this is what I hate about social media, is that we put up all these pictures of us that look perfect, and we have these perfect lives, and then obviously if we don't have that going on, which truthfully none of us really do all the time, we all have this ugly part of our life that's like we don't want to show that, and we can show the pretty moments of like, look, here I am in Maui, but here's like next week when I'm in, I'm cleaning up the dog poop in my backyard.
Exactly.
Less glamorous, you know what I'm saying? But we always want to show this beautiful side, which I understand that, and then there's a place for that, but it's very easy for us to start comparing and competing and contrasting, and we start feeling discouraged of like, wow, my life isn't as great as theirs, and it's really easy to get down. And I think if you look at, I was looking at a statistic the other day about, even since Corona has happened, that there's so much more depression now. There's so much more, our suicide rate has doubled since this happened. And I think this is a time where people are really struggling with what's going on. And not only that, but maybe it's kind of highlighting their loneliness too, of maybe life isn't going exactly how I want, and I'm not sure what to do about that, and I've got maybe some problems I didn't expect, and it sucks. And I don't, like, does anyone even care about that? And I guess my message is, yeah, I care about that. And I want to create a platform where people can come on and maybe get some encouragement and like talk about what their struggles are. I guess like almost like a little therapy session, but really I've been trying to think of themes and stuff. And we've been doing like, like 1 week I had on my fiance who's actually bipolar, which can be really challenging, and so we talked about mental illness and some of the stigmatism of that, and depression, and how that can affect things, and what helps, when you're dealing with that, and what I can do to help. Because obviously if you're with someone that's like this, you have a role too to help. And so anyway, I know I'm giving a super long answer, Jessica, but
no, that's okay.
That's sort of what Wednesday's about. It's kind of stories about overcoming odds, and I hopefully give everybody some encouragement and some inspiration that you're not alone, that no matter what you're facing in life, there is a community here that we care, and we can kind of help each other through it and give each other support. And that I've so far, I've been amazed at the reaction. I'm getting so many letters and messages from people saying, oh, I just love Scar Stories. It's like giving me this, lift in the week, and it's giving me like some encouragement. So I love that. And then Friday is just such a simpler thing to talk about, because I'm just playing. It's just a flash concert, and I've been trying them at different times. And what it is, I've been just playing like a couple, 2 or 3 songs, and then talking to fans and kind of opening up for like a live chat. So I've been trying different times just to kind of hit, because I've got fans like all over the world, and everybody's in different time zones. So it's hard to find a good one that works for everybody. So I'm sort of trying like afternoon for all the European fans, and haven't really nailed the whole Japanese market yet because they're, 14 hours difference.
Yeah.
It's a little harder. But I'm just playing some songs, and I'm planning actually a longer streaming concert at some point too. That's going to be like a longer event for everyone. I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, that's
And hopefully
awesome.
that'll be really soon, where I'm playing like, for 45 minutes or to an hour or so, maybe longer, and make that like a big event that everyone can come to. So I had to get some more gear. So I've been ordering some equipment. So I got it because I want it to sound good.
Right.
And that's been a challenge, is trying to figure out, I mean, these chats, like what we're doing today is okay, but I needed just a little different situation to really to do a live, like a piano vocal concert for everyone that's going to really sound good, Yeah. So there you go. So that's kind of what Friday is. And I am doing it again this Friday. So stay tuned. Just check out my socials. I'll be posting what time. And Star Stories is on tomorrow. It's at 3:00 p.m. EST. And again, it's just for an hour. And tomorrow I'm going to actually be having on some fans. They're going to talk about things that they've gone through. So it's going to be sort of if you have a story tomorrow, I want to hear from you. So you can pop on and share your story. So
that's awesome. Yeah, if everybody, everybody definitely go check that out. I did post a couple of the links to your social media platforms in the live chat as well for everybody. And another question I had was, I'm sure you've traveled quite a few places at this point. Where have you, or if the shorter answer is where haven't you traveled? And which place is your favorite?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, that's been something I came to tell you. I so cherish the opportunity this has given me to travel. It's been just amazing. And that's probably one of my favorite things about being involved, to be honest. My favorite place, it's hard to pick one because they're all so different. It's hard to compare. Yeah. I mean, I really love Europe. The thing I like about Europe is that it's very comfortable. There's not too much of a language barrier because most people in Europe speak English. So I get a little spoiled from that. And I love the food in Europe, like in France, and, I haven't been to, and also London and stuff, but I haven't been to Italy yet. That is definitely on my list. I would love to go there. Have not been there, and I have not been to Brazil. And I have a lot of fans in Brazil because I get a lot of messages from people in Brazil. So those are two places I'd really like to go. And I have to say too, I love Japan. When I first went to Japan, it was so different. It was a little hard at first because, it was, I don't speak any Japanese, so that was challenging. And that can be a little intimidating, and that was actually when I first got involved with the game. I went there and it was like, whoa, and I felt kind of young and inexperienced and kind of fish out of water, like, oh my goodness, how am I going to survive here for a week? And especially because when I got there, no one was there yet, like from the tour. And I was just literally by myself in the middle of Japan. And it's just like, and I don't speak the language at all. And I'm like, oh, but now I have to tell you, it's really, Japan's one of those places now, I really love it because I've come to really appreciate their culture. And I don't know, it's such a beautiful country, really, first of all. And it's a really beautiful culture. And it's really, the people there are really beautiful. I mean, they have one thing I appreciate about Japan, it's taught me a lot. They have this, they have a lot of wonderful ideals there that they've been able to really, like people embrace it quite easily. Like, for example, just they really care about making decisions that are good for everybody, and like really like keeping things clean, for example. Like, you don't see litter there. And it's not because they've got these harsh rules about littering. It's because people just have so much respect for each other and for their community. And it's like, that's something I think in America, we could really stand to use a little bit of that. I mean, there's things I love about American culture. And I love my country, certainly, because I'm from here. But there are definitely, and especially in recent years, I'm sure you could probably echo this truth also, is that we've gotten so comfortable saying how we feel that we've forgotten how to respect each other, Absolutely. And I think that makes me kind of sad because we shouldn't be dissing each other online, like what I read yesterday, haha. I mean, or just saying a bunch of mean stuff about people or for no reason. It's because it's not constructive, and if it's not helping them become better, it's not coming from a good place. It's coming out of a place of jealousy or resentment or trying to just hurt another person or put them down. And that's the stuff that I don't like about our culture, that I feel like, because how is that helping?
Right.
It doesn't, what's the motive, to call someone a name or to, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't get
Exactly.
that, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, things have been rough, since the pandemic and the lockdowns and all of that. And people, I
Yeah.
think, just need to be nicer to people. It doesn't take much to be kind to somebody else, and I think that's an important message for everybody, especially nowadays.
No, it really doesn't, because we're only as strong as our community.
Hmm.
And if we are always tearing each other down, it doesn't really help us as a whole at all. Because
Yeah.
the truth be told, I mean, I think all of us have something to offer, and whether it's music, or you're a great streamer, or you're you're a great doctor, or you're a great restaurant owner, or whatever your calling
Hmm.
is, whether you're a teacher. I mean, there's a million professions. I mean, we all need each other to make a great country, to make a great
Yeah.
community. And when we're comparing and contrasting, and you know calling names, or just being cruel for the sake of being cruel, it's just, I don't really, you're not helping.
Right.
Because we all struggle with who we are sometimes, or think, wow, am
Yeah.
I, I don't know, am I okay, am I good enough, I mean, look, I, like anybody, even though I've accomplished some things with my music career, I still have days where I'm like, man, I don't know, like, does this still matter? Like, is my voice okay? Like, can I still sing? Can I still, like, is this song gonna, like, connect with people? Are they gonna get it? Is it, because you don't know, you can't see yourself objectively. And it's like, we all need to sort of encourage and help each other. And I think that's really
Yeah.
important. And you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a key thing. And I think that's something I see in their culture a lot, that there's just this positive kind of, they really want to see each other do well. And I think,
Hmm.
wow, what kind of country would we have if we started really thinking about that, instead of tearing down? I heard something, I'll just add this because it's kind of
Yeah.
on the subject. This last weekend, I heard a message about, was talking about dealing with, like, all the differences that we have going on in our world right now. And the person that was speaking, he said, you can have unity without being uniform. And I think that's a really important point. Like, we don't have to agree on everything for us to have unity. We don't
Yeah.
have to be like, oh, we agree on every little political thing and social thing and all this. It's like, it doesn't have to be, there's room for us to be different. There's a room for us to, like, have different faiths, for example, or
Yep.
you believe this and I believe that. There's room for us to coexist together, even if we don't agree, and we can show each other respect and honor, and try to learn from each other, and try to learn from those differences. I mean, that's what makes a great culture. That's what we should be doing. And that's what I'm about. And I will say that to my dying day, because we need more of that. We need, it's because it doesn't help anybody. So I will always, try to say that. And any space I create online will always be
Yeah.
filled with that, that idea. And I will not, let people get on and start hating and do, negative stuff. So, which
Yeah.
I haven't had a problem with up to this point, because most people know that about me. So anyway.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that was kind of all the questions I had. We have been live for just about an hour now.
Awesome.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to add, or that you wanted people to know, or anything like that?
Well, I just want everyone to know again, like, how we started, I would end. I just want to thank everybody for all the amazing support you guys give this game, and give me, and give Distant Worlds. I mean, the only reason that we can create all this music, and even, whether the Distant Worlds CDs, or my CDs, or, releases, whatever, the only reason that we can do all this is because you guys support this music, and I just want
Yeah.
you to know how much I appreciate that. Because, and especially during this pandemic, it's been hard, because, we're not touring and stuff, which is difficult on multiple levels. And I just encourage you to remember to support musicians, and to support the music that you love, because that's how we make a living. And it helps us to really create a life that we can really, we can really take this farther, and create more stuff, and release more music and things like that. So that's really important to remember, that is that this is, we need art in our lives. We need music and stuff. And that's, so many times it creates that, backdrop to what we're doing, that inspires us and helps us to, reach our dreams and our goals. And so it's an important thing, so I want to thank everyone for all their amazing support. And if you haven't checked out all my socials, please come and follow me everywhere. We're working on a new website right now, which is almost done, but it's live, so you can check that out. And again, if you want to consider joining me on Patreon, I'd love to have you. It's been just a joy to get to know so many of the fans better, because I really interact very personally with my patrons. So
Hmm.
definitely check that out if you're interested in joining that. And hopefully I'll see some of you guys at my chat on Wednesday. So come on, come with your story. I want to hear about it. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Like I said, I really do appreciate you doing this. This was awesome. I was, definitely fangirling a bit when you got back to me. I was, very excited.
See, now we're friends, Jessica.
Yeah.
I'm hitting you up all the time. I'll be like, Jessica, got a new song. Can I come on your show?
It's so awesome. I'm so glad that we were able to do this and get this time. Yeah. It's funny we make that hand gesture, but people, nowadays it's more like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Smartphones.
Like, I know.
Yep.
Or like typing.
Exactly.
Dear Jessica, it's Susan. Can I be on your show?
Exactly. Anyway. Well, this was a lot of fun. I'm so glad again that we got to do it.
Thank you for having me, and everyone. Make sure, I'm sure you guys are all fans of Jessica and her awesome show. Make sure you follow, because I know she's going to be doing regular content on here. So hopefully I'll come back on, and we'll maybe get some other. You should have Benny on. Benny's a great person to have on too. Benny and Hobbies.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
For New World, but I know he'd love to come on. So.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to the future. So thank you again.
You're a great interviewer. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. No problem. All right. Well, I want to say thank you to the chat as well for coming. I do appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you.
You rock. Hey, chatters. I can't read the chat, but I see a little tiny.
It is tiny. Yeah, on our screen it's tiny.
Okay.
Well,
awesome.
this has been an interview with Susan Calloway, and I am, of course, Cy Strickling, and I will see y'all in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.